My name's Charlie Levenson, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about how, after 15 years, I finally decided to get involved in my own health care and engage with a chronic disease that I had and get better, as it were. So one thing you have to understand about chronic diseases is they don't go away. You have them for life. You can't cure them. You can manage them. You can put them in remission, but they're always there. There's a list of them, but there are a lot more, and there will be even more. My chronic disease is diabetes, as the title suggested. I was diagnosed in 1999, 15 years ago, with an A1C of 13.5. If any of you know what that number's about, that's a big number. I was about 230 pounds. I was very sedentary. I was working 60 to 80 hours a week in a .com, drinking a case of Coke or Jolt. Very, very sedentary. So my responses over the last 14 years were up and down, mostly up. That is to say, my A1C was 7.5 to 9 or higher, 9.5. My weight was around 235, 245. I was still, sometimes I cared about it, but mostly I ignored it. There are a lot of different reactions that people have to a chronic disease. Some people get right on it right away. Sometimes there's a minimal response. Sometimes there's a limited response. Or as that graphic shows, it's not just a river in Egypt, it's denial. That's the most common response. Providers will try to present patients with the facts. The problem is they are isolated from other providers, and they always give these facts from their own perspective. And they usually say, if you don't do this, this will happen. The this will happen is usually death, is how they put it. Tombstone. The other problem is that the patient just got this diagnosis. They're basically in a form of shock. They're not listening. They're not getting all this information, and it may be the only time the provider gives it to them. Basically, it's a very bad time to educate them until they calm down from it. Unfortunately, that's how it goes. So what the patient really needs is to know that they can have a role in their own health care. They can have an impact on their own condition. That seems common, obvious, but it's not. So, this is not a lesson that's taught. The treatment, Kevin talked about it earlier, for my disease is very simple. Eat a balanced diet and exercise. But I don't like to cut out that bottom part of the pyramid. That's where all the stuff I like, the breads and the pastas is, and I really hate exercise. So how do you get a patient who's in denial or inaction to move forward? There's lots of little strategies that medical providers or team members will use, bribery, threats, promises, all of those. The problem really goes to one of my favorite jokes, strangely enough. How many psychologists does it take to change a light bulb? Only one. But the light bulb has to really, really want to change. That's the key. That is really what this is all about. This is about the light bulb moment, the moment when the patient decides, I'm going to get involved in my own health care. I'm going to give a damn. For 14 years, I didn't. But that's what has to happen. Now, when that happens, everything changes. Information that the patient was getting for 14 years in some cases, and was just sort of going, it was relevant information, but it was random. It didn't have anything to connect to. But now, if the patient's engaged, that information can have traction. Because the patient has a strategy, that information now can find a place in that strategy. So that's a very big piece of it, and that's why the light bulb is so important. Now, what can a provider do to prepare the patient for the light bulb moment? Well, you can make the information available. It's good to have it there. Non-judgmental suggestions are really important, and you can show the possibility of success. And a really key part of this possibility of success is incremental success. It's allowing the patient to understand that it can happen in small little steps, and that it's not win or lose. You don't lose this if you make one mistake, and you don't win by making one decision. It's a lot of small steps over time that produce long and lasting results. Now, the healthcare team is basically flipping a breaker that's providing the power that allows the patient to be able to have their light bulb moment. The provider or the team members, they can't make that light bulb moment happen. They can't. It has to come from the individual. The patient can do some things to help themselves be ready for when that moment comes. They can think about what's important to them. They can think about their plans and their goals. They can take an inventory of all the people that do care about them in their support network, medical professionals, family members, etc. But at some point, the light bulb moment has to come. Mine came about a year ago, and I was probably not my worst, but close. I had a very high A1C. I was about 245 pounds. Same bad diet, same sedentary. I wasn't exercising. I was, just there. A year later, I've lost about 45 pounds. Still losing. A1C is 6.5 and going down. This is thanks to Melissa Ho, a nutritionist at Providence, who was one of my great team members and really was there when my light bulb went off and could really help me. And that's the key. Providers know that your patients need to have this light bulb go off before anything's going to happen. And if you're a patient and you have a chronic disease and it hasn't yet, Hopefully it will, but prepare yourself for it. Anyway, thank you very much. I hope I'll see you later.